Today, more of your suggestions. Some of the most exciting players to watch in the NBA, some of the biggest stars in the NFL, and the biggest prospect in all of Major League Baseball. I've got all that and more.
And I'm here to tell you which cards to buy, sell, or hold.
This is The Forecast. Sports card investors, I'm Amber Wilson. Happy to be hanging back out with you here on The Forecast on another Thursday. Now, I am back with more of your suggestions. So we have been loving this system that we came up with here at Sports Card Investor, where you tell us who you want to hear about. So you've been leaving us comments right here on YouTube, right under the videos. You've been telling us who you want to hear about week in and week out. We've been parsing through all of them. We have meetings before the shows, and we decide whose content is best for us to bring you based on your suggestions. Obviously, we can never get to all of them, but keep them coming because we are noticing all of them. One of the suggestions this week actually has been suggested to us the last few weeks, and we have taken notice. So even if you don't hear your player or your card today, you still might hear him next week, or her next week as well. Now, before I hop into things, and man, we got an action-packed show today because we are covering a little bit of everything on today's show. But before I hop into it, of course, I want to remind you guys that this episode of Sports Card Investor is brought to you by our friends at eBay, your number one spot for cards and collectibles. With the largest inventory of sports cards from basketball to soccer, and with buyers from all over the globe, eBay is the leading place to buy, sell, and invest your cards. All right, guys, so it is the NBA playoffs, and it might just be the first round of the playoffs, but it has been hella exciting, okay? If you are a basketball fan, you have to be loving this. The first round has delivered and then some. Not so much my Miami Heat, but every other series has delivered in this first round. So let's talk about one of the brightest young stars in the game, and somebody how I think sometimes gets overlooked in a team that I think sometimes gets overlooked, which is weird because they're the number one seed in the entire NBA this season. So let's talk about Donovan Mitchell. Now, Donovan Mitchell was suggested to us by PLM 2879. So thanks, PLM 2879, for writing in and suggesting Donovan Mitchell. It's very topical. It's very timely. I love the NBA talk here on The Forecast. Now, Donovan Mitchell is unbelievable. It's funny because, of course, the Utah Jazz, I think you can make a very strong argument that they were the best team in the NBA all season long. And yet, they don't always get the coverage. I mean, the 7th seeded Lakers get a lot more coverage than the number 1 seeded Utah Jazz. It's just kind of how it goes, I guess, when you play in Utah, and until they actually win a championship, which sure, that team's constructed to do it. That team is good enough to do it, arguably. I'm not saying that my money's on them to do it this season, but they've been that good all season long, and yet we tend to kind of overlook or brush aside that team. Donovan Mitchell is central to that effort in Utah to try to win at least a Western Conference championship this season, but he was absent for game 1 of their series. He missed that game 1 against the Grizz, and they fell to Memphis in that game, which was sort of shocking to everybody. It caused some controversy because he said he was fully healthy, even though they didn't play him. It got a little weird. He's back, and at least at the time of taping, averaging 28 points per game in this first round so far of these playoffs. Actually killing it in these playoffs so far. But that's what Donovan Mitchell does, right? Like his regular season numbers from this past season, or this current, right, this season, you know what I mean? The regular season that just finished, and now we're in the playoffs. This regular season, 26 points per game, 44% field goal percentage, 39% from 3. And he just played 53 games of the 72 this season. Now, Donovan Mitchell's interesting from a card perspective because he's got a way lower pop count than other young stars like the Lukas and the Jaws and the Zion and Trays of the world. So let's take a look at Donovan Mitchell's 2017 Prism Base PSA 10. Now, his pop count on this card, it's 4,162. That card is down about 5% over the last 30 days. So even though he's crushing it so far in this first round and has been crushing it in the regular season leading up to this first round, his card's down slightly, but 5% is nothing. That means his card's been stagnant. Let's take a look at his 2017 Optic base PSA 10. Half the count of the other one here. His population here is 2,232. So really not many of these. Down 23% over the last 30 days. So that's more significant. The 23% is a decrease here in value of Donovan Mitchell's card. I'm surprised to see it. So Jeff, one of the brightest young stars in the game on a really good Utah Jazz team. Do we buy, do we sell, or do we hold?
I love Donovan Mitchell as a player. I think the Utah Jazz are an exciting team, and I think it's awesome they've had such success this postseason. I'm also pretty high on the Jazz right now because the Lakers, the Clippers, the teams that were the favorites in the West, they are struggling. So I feel like the Jazz have an increasingly good chance to make it to the finals, which would really help Donovan Mitchell's card prices. The only thing that gives me any hesitation is the fact that basketball cards in general have been falling pretty significantly. Mitchell's cards have fallen some, but what might happen, especially in the offseason, maybe his cards could fall more and kind of catch up with the rest of the market. But for the short term, I'm a buy on Donovan Mitchell because I feel like his cards could go up between now and the finals if they make it there. And also for the long term, I'm also a buy on Donovan Mitchell. I'm just a little bit worried about what this offseason might bring.
Yes, Sir 11 wants to hear about one of the most talked about athletes right now, and that is Aaron Rodgers. So let's transition our focus to football for a moment. We'll get back to basketball in a second. But Aaron Rodgers, obviously, he's all over everything. And not just because he hosted Jeopardy this offseason. He was pretty damn good at it, actually. People are talking about Aaron Rodgers because he wants out of Green Bay. And he has made that very clear. And we've never heard it really from Aaron Rodgers' mouth. But I mean, come on, who leaked it to Adam Schefter to begin with? And then Shefty puts out that information on draft day. Aaron Rodgers news kind of stealing the show from the NFL draft. That felt a little calculated there from Aaron Rodgers' camp. We know how those leaks end up occurring, but Aaron Rodgers had never actually addressed the situation, and then he went on SportsCenter with Kenny Mayne, and he made it pretty clear that he wants out of Green Bay. Now, Green Bay's made it clear that they want nothing to do with trading away Aaron Rodgers, but he seems pretty serious about never playing another snap in a Green Bay Packers uniform. It's a hell of a story because we're talking about the reigning NFL MVP, and we're talking about one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and certainly one of the best quarterbacks of this generation. Three-time NFL MVP, I mentioned, of course, including 2020, a Super Bowl MVP to his name. He finished 2020 with 48 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 4,299 passing yards. So let's take a look at what's happening here with Aaron Rodgers' cards, with all these rumors that are going on with how disgruntled he is in Green Bay. Taking a look at his 2005 Topps Chrome Base PSA 10. That card for Aaron Rodgers up 381% over the last year. So I'm looking at a full 365 days here on this chart, and that is a significant increase in value. So let's take a look now at his 2005 Topps Base PSA 10. That card is up 252% over the last 365 days. So both of these cards are significantly up in value, 381% and 252% respectively. So Jeff, what do we do here with Aaron Rodgers' card? I don't know if he's playing in Green Bay again, but I would imagine his career in the NFL certainly isn't over unless Jeopardy pays a lot more to host and he decides to save his body and go do something else. That would be quite the move from an NFL MVP, a reigning NFL MVP, but I imagine we will see him play football again. I'm just not sure it's in Wisconsin. Do we buy, do we sell, or do we hold?
Aaron Rodgers is fantastic. We know that he's one of the greatest players currently playing in the NFL, but interestingly enough, his cards, they've been going up, while many other cards of iconic players and football legends have been on the decline. That gives me hesitation. I don't know why his cards have continued to go up. I guess people are excited about Green Bay this upcoming season, putting some more weapons around him. Maybe people have hope that this is finally an opportunity for him to get back to the Super Bowl. I don't know. But because of the very fact that his cards have been going up, I'm a little concerned that they might have a bit of a drop-off at some point, like other iconic cards have. I'm just going to classify Aaron Rodgers as a hold right now, even though I do love his cards for the long term.
So from one of the legendary quarterbacks in the NFL to one of the bright young star quarterbacks in the NFL, PM Videos wants to hear about Josh Allen, so let's do it. Let's talk about the star quarterback, because he is a star now for the Buffalo Bills. He earned that stardom this past season, a breakout season in 2020. He finished second in the MVP race, behind, of course, Aaron Rodgers. He finished this past season with 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, over 4,500 passing yards, rushed for another 8 touchdowns. The Bills, of course, they lost to the Chiefs in the AFC title game, but the future is very bright for the Buffalo Bills and for Josh Allen. They've got their guy, and he looks like he's going to be a superstar at that position. So let's take a look at Josh Allen's 2018 Donruss base PSA 10. Now, over the last year, that card's up 576% in value. Obviously, a monster increase in value. I'm not surprised to see these monster jumps in value for Josh Allen's card. When we're talking about Aaron Rodgers, legends, their cards are always going to increase, but a huge pop kind of surprises me because we already know Aaron Rodgers is great, right? But with Josh Allen, in 2019, people did not know Josh Allen was great. There was a lot of question marks surrounding him. In 2020, he answered all of those concerns and becomes a star. So, of course, he would get that huge bump in value as people really seek his cards here. So let's take a look here at his 2018 Optic Base PSA 10. That card is up 262% over the last year. And a theme here is 2018 Prism Base PSA 10, up 293% over that same period of time. So Josh Allen, he becomes a star. Huge increase in his card value as well. So what do we do at this point with Josh Allen? Do we buy, do we sell, or do we hold?
Josh Allen is one of those players who's considered a young, up-and-coming star in the NFL with a lot of upside. If he can continue to improve his play, maybe get himself into the MVP conversation, and maybe get the Bills deeper in the playoffs than they've made it thus far, Josh Allen's card prices could really be helped from that happening. So I'm still fairly optimistic about him. Now, his cards have come down in price some over the last 30 days after having a steady rise prior to that. What I would do right now with Josh Allen is continue to watch the charts of his cards every single day. It's possible they could drop a little further in the weeks ahead as the whole entire card market has been cooling off. But once they kind of hit a plateau point, maybe start to tick back up a little bit again, that's when I would look to buy Josh Allen cards.
So we've been talking about bona fide stars on today's show. So let's talk about a dude who we expect will one day become a star. This is the forecast overall, right? So let's forecast some stardom in our future. Let's talk about the biggest prospect in Major League Baseball. Salty Pepper, he wants to hear about Wander Franco. Now, Wander Franco, I mentioned, biggest prospect in the MLB. Dominican shortstop. He made his minor league debut in 2017. He is part of that Tampa Bay Rays organization. He's currently playing in AAA Durham. Now, the Rays recently traded away shortstop Willie Adams to Milwaukee. They called up Taylor Walls. Fans and investors were upset by that. They wanted Franco to finally get that call up, that much anticipated call up. It didn't happen. So the value of his card, that trade, it didn't really move in that moment. He's got huge pop numbers. This is what's interesting here about Franco. Huge pop numbers for a dude who's in the AAA, right? I mean, that's not something that we see every day, but like I mentioned, he is considered the biggest prospect by all the experts in Major League Baseball. So taking a look at his 2019 Bowman Base PSA 10, this has a pop of 5,196. And over the last 30 days, that card is up 19% in value. If we're looking at his 2019 Bowman Chrome Base PSA 10, that card has a pop of over 9,000. And it's basically stagnant, 3% over the last 30 days. So Jeff, Franco, already, I guess, kind of a star in the hobby, even though he's just in AAA. Everyone expects he is going to get the call up, and everyone expects he's going to be a star in Major League Baseball. We're not quite there yet since he's not in the bigs yet. So what do we do here with Wander Franco's card? Buy, sell, or hold?
So we're finally going to get a chance to see Wander Franco. This guy seems like he's been the #1 baseball prospect forever. But we've never seen him in the majors, and now it sounds like we're going to get that opportunity. He's going to get called up. That's exciting. But if you have his cards, it's high risk, high reward. There is a lot of built-in expectation already into his card prices. And if he comes out and disappoints, his cards will most certainly tumble pretty quickly. Much like what happened with, let's say, Vlad Guerrero Jr. a couple of seasons ago, after there was a lot of hype around his cards. Or even Shohei Ohtani over the last couple of years after his rookie season. Then he got injured, wasn't able to play much. His cards tumbled as well. However, both Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Shohei Ohtani are both seeing their cards go up a bunch this season. So there's the upside there as well. But for me, it's a gamble. What do you think Wander Franco is going to do in the MLB? Your guess is as good as mine. If I had his cards, I think I'd just hold and let it play out.
Now, I mentioned it's only the first round of the playoffs, but boy, have they delivered. And that is in large part to Dame time. Now, Parker wants to hear about Damian Lillard, so let's do it, Parker. It has been Dame time throughout these playoffs, but on Tuesday night, it was Dame time to the max degree. He scored 55 points, 12 threes, and his team lost to Denver. But who really cares what the Blazers are doing? When it is Dame time, what does it matter? And all that attention, of course, is on Damian Lillard, whether the Trailblazers end up winning or losing. He's averaging 36 points per game on 47% field goal percentage, 48% from three during these playoffs so far at the time of taping. It's funny because Damian Lillard's cards, they normally get this huge playoff bump because he's Dame time and he's all over national television. We're all tuned in because it's the playoffs and it's super exciting and it's a huge stage. And then his cards normally kind of fall in value during the offseason and even during the regular season because it's not the playoffs. You don't get as many eyeballs. You're not on the big stage as much. But I would say overall, Damian Lillard has to be one of the most popular players, if not the most popular and beloved player who has no shot at winning a championship right now. I mean, he just doesn't. Like, his team's not good enough, but he is unbelievably popular. And so, at least in terms of guys still in these playoffs, he may be the best player on a team that doesn't really have a shot at contending still left in these playoffs. So let's take a look at Damian Lillard's 2012 Prism Base PSA 10. Now, if I'm looking 30 days here, that card's actually down technically 9% in value, so that card's actually stagnant. Now, this card has a low pop, 862 of these cards. So, Jeff, we know Damian Lillard is going to deliver in terms of excitement. His team, of course, doesn't always deliver in terms of wins, so what do we do here? Buy, sell, or hold?
If you have Damian Lillard cards, it would be a really smart time to sell. This guy's incredible. What an amazing, amazing performance he had the other night. But the Trailblazers aren't going anywhere. They're not a complete enough team. And what we saw last year during the NBA playoffs was that Dame was once again incredible, and his cards shot up like a rocket during the playoffs. His card values went crazy. And then, of course, what happened? The Blazers got eliminated early, and his cards fell back down to earth during the offseason. We're probably going to see that same type of pattern occur right now. His cards have gone up a little bit coming off of the exceptional game he had the other night. I think it's a good time to sell because I would guess that those cards are going to be, unfortunately, less valuable 30, 60, 90 days from now than they are right at this very moment.
So guys, that'll do it. A little bit of everything for you today. I hope you're enjoying the first round of these NBA playoffs. Of course, we'll be doing plenty more NBA as the playoffs roll on. And whatever else you want to hear about, whatever other sport you want to hear about, the cards you care about, let us know. Comment under this video. We are tracking the comments here at Sports Card Investor, and we really appreciate all of your suggestions week in and week out. Of course, if you haven't done so already, hit the bell icon, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate the support. That helps us out here at Sports Card Investor. Free, simple, easy for you, and then you won't miss any of our content, which is really the point. And as always, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys next week. Happy investing.